Good afternoon. It's time to get started, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I know that there are a number of people coming, and we'll just let them come in as we go along. But I just wanted to start out tonight by essentially introducing this as this is where we put it all together. This is where Ben applies all three of the secrets and shows how he tailors solutions for the unique needs of each of the clients. And so I want to mention this concept based on two things. Hey, Toby, how you doing? I just went ahead and got started. So since I'm recording this, just so you know, and I'll let other people know as they come on, but I'm up against a hard stop at about 10 minutes before the hour. We'll have to wrap it up, and I've got another meeting at the top of the hour. But anyway, I was just mentioning that in this section, Ben is wrapping everything together, the three secrets, and particularly how he uses these to tailor solutions, meaning that, you and I were in a meeting earlier today, and we were asking, can Ben do this? Can Ben do that? Can Ben do the other thing? And the answer is an unqualified yes, we can. And that's the good news behind it. Anthony, how are you? I guess he'll join us in just a second. But anyway, so I want to just mention that, that's what Ben is talking about here. And the reason why I believe I can say that he can do that with an unqualified yes is because, in essence, this part of the book, that's what he's saying, that he can do that. The other thing is and I want to express this from a personal experience, is that, 6 or 8 months, I guess about 8 months ago now, I was in a meeting with Ben, and I've shared this story before, and I'll share it again. But he mentioned at that point in time, because I expressed a concern that perhaps a particular investment banking instrument that they were putting together was going to effectively sell out, and that we were no longer going to be able to access that. And he said, basically, guys, you are setting up these investment funds. I can always design something for whatever you need anytime. So in other words, don't ever worry about missing out or having a door close on you and your fund and you can't get access to that, because he'll always put something together either uniquely for you and your fund, or because there's an opportunity out there for which your fund can take advantage of. So, we talk about the airbags, as it were, the structured products, the Adagio engineers, and they will always be there. I mean, that's one of the key purposes for which we're setting up our funds. So anyway, I just kind of want to introduce the topic with that story. And just by way of housekeeping, for those of you who are new, Anthony, Jesse, I think Jesse, you were here last week, but this is an informal discussion. I'm just kind of leading the discussion and pointing us in different directions based on where we want the discussion to sort of go. But if you have questions, thoughts about what we're discussing, opinions, feel free, unless you got noise in the background, feel free to leave yourself unmuted. You don't have to mute yourself. Like I said, unless you got dogs barking or kids playing or whatever, but this is pretty informal. We also like to see your smiling faces in real time. But anyway, feel free if you want to just kind of hang back, that's cool. But if you want to come forward and just join our circle, feel free to do that too. And so anyway, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about applying the three secrets and tailored solutions as found in the master class or in your book on pages 139 through about 149, those 10 pages. And there's so much meat in this section. These 10 pages, if you haven't read it or haven't completed the master class yet, I strongly urge you to do the whole master class. But go back and reread this section, because for me personally, these 10 pages are probably some of the most motivational pages in the entire course. And the reason being is because for me, this is where the light bulb went on all of a sudden I could see the possibilities, and he just really honed in on that concept and show you the possibilities. And so that's why I encourage you to go back and read this. But let's just talk about it for a second. First of all, he starts out this section identifying the supply side, I should say the buy side and the sell side of financial services. And and he titles it A Role for Everyone. What does that mean? Basically, that in the world of financial services, with the help of Adagio, you can put on whatever hat you want and fulfill whatever role you want in this. There's so much room for a lot of different players, a lot of different ideas, and a lot of different opportunities. And throughout this course, we've identified a lot of them. And so he goes in and specifies, again, what some of those might be. Of course, you're only limited by your imagination. So, like I said, he starts with the buy side and the sell side. And essentially what that means is that your sell side are your broker dealers. These are the guys with the clients. And they're trying to, the retail clients. And these are the guys that are trying to sell different products and services based on financial plans and estate plans and tax plans and all that kind of stuff. And they typically give their advice for free. And that's probably because a lot of them are commissioned based on the sales of what they're selling to their customers, their clients. On the buy side, these are the people that essentially have big pools of capital. They need a place for that money to be invested, to make their targeted returns, to be safe, to do all the things that they want to do for the money that they're investing. And so there's plenty of room on both sides of this, obviously. And I'm going to quote from the book a lot tonight, just because I want to get the power of end statements and the clarity that comes with some of these statements that he makes. And so here he says, basically, he says the goal of the sell side is to close the deal, whereas the goal of the buy side is to generate risk-adjusted returns that beat the market, i.e. alpha, for their clients. And so as you've gone through the master class, you obviously are starting to learn what some of these financial terms are, alpha being one of them. And in this section of the chapter also, he really demonstrates how much he favors investment clubs. Now, we've talked a lot about the different Reg D offerings, the Reg D 506A, the 506B, the 506C, and some of the rules that apply to these. And because we all come from different backgrounds, unique backgrounds, unless you're FINRA licensed already, that's your 65, which I don't know, most of us here don't have that. We couldn't go get it, but we don't have it at this time. And so he points us in the direction of the investment club, and that's the 506A, because you don't have to have a FINRA license to run a 506A. And so there are a lot of rules with respect to 506As that allow you to do a lot more than you could normally do, say, with a B or a C. And it's much more flexible. So he tends to appear to favor that a lot because he brings it up a lot in the chapters. And so I want to mention that. He says, while it's illegal to act as a broker without a license, there is no prohibition on selling assets you own, whether they are physical properties or securities you issue, albeit with some exceptions, and that's where the A, B, and C comes in. Further interests in investment clubs are not deemed to be securities by the SEC. And I've mentioned that before, and I read that before. They're not deemed to be securities by the SEC, which means involvement in an investment club does not require FINRA licensing. So if you don't want to go to the time and the trouble and the hassle to get 65 license, focus on an investment club. You can accomplish the same thing, more or less, and you actually got a little more freedom than some of the other types of Reg D offerings you could otherwise be doing. So that's a key point, and we'll come back to that again and again. Another point he brings out here is that everyone participates in the financial industry. Everyone. even people who don't think they're invested in the markets or in participating in the financial industry, if you can fog a mirror, you probably are participating in the financial industry in some form or fashion. And and he lumps a lot of people into this big group called dumb money, right? And we spoke about that in an earlier section. And these are people that are basically financially illiterate. And even some people who think they're financially literate are also dumb money. Case in point, people who've got IRAs, 401ks, don't have a tax plan, don't understand the value of trust, as Toby talks about, don't understand that there's risk in everything you do. Maybe they barely keep their checkbook balanced. There's all sorts of people in the dumb money spectrum. But, those are people in the spectrum. Entrepreneurs are in that spectrum, and they could be smart money or dumb money, depending on how they invest or how they know how to manage their money. And then there's the smart money is what we're becoming, because the smart money knows what shadow banking is about, and they're either using them or they're creating them to get access to funds that they can invest at much higher rates of return, and so they are much more successful at it. So there's something to keep in mind as you're thinking. Anthony, welcome. So here are some motivational questions. By the way, before I get into this, I'm going to change the subject. Let me ask: does anybody have any questions or comments as we're teeing this up so far?
I was just going to say the opportunity cost too. In that, I guess you call it the dumb money category, because people that finance things and even if you pay cash for something, you're really financing it because you're missing out on the opportunity that you could have had if you had invested that money.
Yep. Spoken like a true accountant. Okay. Here's some interesting questions, and I really would like your feedback on some of these questions because these are more personal. And what I mean by personal is that these questions are designed to engender inside of you a reaction, an emotional reaction even. And so I really would like to know, as a group, individually, but to the group, these questions, because they all start with, how do you feel? Okay, that's what I mean by an emotional question. But he asks the questions: how does it feel to know that you can access as much money as you can responsibly put to work in your investment business, and that your portfolio is protected from the next financial crisis? CJ, I'm glad you're here because this question is perfect for you. Okay, I'll repeat it. How does it feel to know you can access as much money as you can responsibly put to work in your investment business, and that your portfolio is protected from the next financial crisis? Give me some thoughts on that.
Ooh, man. I think that's a very robust and well put together statement, and it's true. It's something that we have the numbers for, and I think that's good. I think that's really good.
Now, CJ, you came in late, so I put you at a distinctly unfair situation. I did not come up with that question. This is right out of the book.
Wow, look at that.
So Ben is asking the question. I mean, put yourself here in a conversation with Ben mentally for a minute. And Ben is asking you, after having completed the master class or having read the book or both, how does it feel to know that you can access as much money as you can responsibly put to work in your investment business, and that your portfolio is protected from the next financial crisis? See, a lot of people, I think, in this group and within our community, but outside of this group perhaps, who are sitting here rereading the book perhaps a second or third time, yours truly, or taking the master class a second or third time, yours truly, and still trying to get our brain around this. And when in fact, in this section of the book, and I'm on pages 139 through 149, he basically steps back from all the technical jargon and all of the discussion that, where he's talking at this almost PhD level, and he's now bringing it down to you and asking you, how does it feel? Here's another question he puts. He says, how does it feel to be able to afford your clients? Now, if you have clients, like as an RIA or maybe as a CJ, you've got clients in a way, with your YouTube channel and things like that, or Anthony has insurance clients. But how does it be able to afford your clients access to exclusive financial products that meet their income and growth needs with the confidence they won't lose when your markets take a hit? Because remember, we're talking about maintaining a risk-adjusted performance measurement that if you go back and replicate that into 2007, 2008, 2009, when people were losing half, 50% or more of their portfolios. How does it feel now to know that you could offer that to your client right now today, knowing that they'll never lose that kind of portfolio loss ever again? And so what are your thoughts on that? Those of you who have clients.
Well, you've just been given an unfair advantage over everybody else, in a way to separate yourself from the traditional financial planner.
Yep. I agree with that statement. If you're in the financial services industry as a financial planner, as a tax planner, as even an insurance guy, trying to put all that together through insurance products, if you can use this to your advantage, and again, this is about you setting up your own fund, right? And if you set up your own fund to do this, you're managing it, you're working directly with Adagio in this case, using the products that they've designed for you, right? Then you've got that kind of confidence. And of course, that's kind of for those of you who are here for the first time, or the second time, you might go, I don't know, I don't see it yet. Okay, got to go back to us to the beginning and start from the beginning, right? But the point is that it is there. And so if you're coming in new to this, just trust that statement, trust that feeling for a minute, and just say, okay, what if this really is something we're capable of doing? Then hopefully you're all going to go out and find a place for yourself in the industry and utilize the things we're learning to benefit your clients, to benefit your practice, to grow a fund, whatever it is you want to do. And that's really what Ben is trying to identify here when he talks about the buy side and the sell side and all these kinds of things. And we're going to talk more about that, but I just wanted to hit those kind of feeling statements. Here's another one. How would it help you grow your business if you were able to objectively measure and clearly communicate the merits of your advice? Now, Toby was kind of alluding to that in the last question, but think about that. How would you be able to grow your business if you were able to objectively measure and clearly communicate the merits of your advice? And essentially what we're talking about, in fact, I'll give you an example. Toby and I are talking about a fund that we're working on with Jody, and we're talking about the reaction that people have when you hit their pain points. In other words, you look at the things that people don't like about whatever it is they're doing in the industry, and you can solve that pain for them. You can say, hey, I've got a solution for that, once you've heard them out. And you're able to identify their pain points and address them and create solutions for their pain points. How does that feel? Knowing that you could, however you choose to participate in this business, knowing that you can present solutions to people's problems or pain points. What do you think?
It feels amazing because I don't know if this has ever been done before, as far as the broad scope of this type of group, of this type of learning environment. We're learning about the shadow banker's secrets. It's almost like there needs to be some sort of email template that we would be able to, send our clients, that is of the highest level of convertibility, and you would be able to convert those clients at a higher rate than you would with anything else. Because look at what else is out there. It's pretty boring, right? It's not as profitable, and I really think we have something here that's special in terms of being able to convert faster, because we have teamed up with Adagio and the alternative investments.
So there's a challenge for you, CJ. And I think Anthony was talking about this last week or the week before, but he was talking about some kind of email sequence, autoresponder email sequence that nurtured people along to accomplish exactly something similar to this. I shouldn't exactly something similar, but he has an insurance practice, I believe. Anthony, jump on and clarify this if you can. But weren't you looking for some kind of email sequence that you could develop to attract or get your clients to want to jump on and participate in something like this, or products, some kind of product?
Right. Yeah. So what my intent was, because I'm life insurance licensed, but I also sell annuities, and my practice is mostly now just annuities. So that includes retirement planning, investments, and things like that. So I was just going to take my existing clients and then send them a direct mail letter for them to read, because a lot of my clients are older; they're like 70 and up. Because that's who has all the money, is the retired people. So I was just going to send them a letter, just my clients, my current clients, not any new clients, but my current clients, and just trying to introduce the Adagio products to them. Now, I have a letter now that I had got from Jeffrey that I'm still working on. I'm still crafting a little bit more. And I'm going to make a real nice letterhead for it, and also a follow-up letter, and maybe like a follow-up text or phone call script or process that I would go through for people who did not respond, just so I can kind of make sure I reach out to everybody.
So Anthony, can you do us a favor? When you got that crafted, could you put that up in the community so we can all plagiarize it?
Sure. Not a problem. Not a problem.
Awesome.
Not a problem.
Cool.
One thing that would help is if we could get, I know the one way to clarify your difference is through the back testing. And that one slide or picture in the book showing Adagio's results should be somehow included in that. And any testimonials we could find.
Yeah,
okay.
In fact, another thing that we should have available, and I'm thinking particularly of you, Anthony, because you kind of have a really low-hanging fruit opportunity here. You're talking about people that have annuities, and you want to convert them into something as safe as treasuries or annuities, and yet pays out an inflation-busting rate of return, right? Which annuities and treasuries don't do. Huh?
I said I need to use that as a headline. I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something that's as safe as an annuity, but pays out an inflation-busting return. So the question there is could you set up a fund real quickly and easily, because I know Adagio has exactly that product. And so when it comes to back testing, due diligence, all your documentation that you need for your pitch deck and for your 2-page teaser, and just to get the whole thing set up, all you're doing is needing to market Carl's program from Avara. Oh my goodness, you're basically done. Just get your letter up there, get your fund set up, get people going in it, and away you go.
Yeah, just set up appointments.
Just start setting up appointments.
Line them up.
Yeah, line them up, because your product's already created. That particular one, product's already created. And so all you got to do is set up, Anthony's fund, that carries that product, and then people are putting that into you. And basically, you're writing your own annuities at that point.
Is there a video that goes over that?
No, but you know, we ought to sit down and have a discussion with somebody, maybe Jeffrey, maybe Carl, maybe a combination of those two, and Ben as well, after we put the whole thing together, create a marketing piece, and basically create an evergreen webinar that that explains all of it, and people just sign up at the end.
Yeah, I'm thinking a landing page with, you know, as short as you can make it, a video that just goes over the highlights. You don't have to sell the whole thing.
Yeah, you got a very simple sales funnel. I would do it as a 506A, an investment club. Oh my goodness. You know, then anybody just wants to set up something with that investment, and it doesn't have to be specifically set up as an annuity, but just set it up and run it, because it's going to function like one. You know, it's going to have that safety and security in it. It's going to have the inflation busting return. And so I think they've decided to put that up somewhere around 20% a year now. So when they started, I think they were saying 8, wow. but I think they're trying to beat inflation by a couple of points. So that's an easy one, Anthony. You just gotta, you know, sit down and start asking questions in the community, and we'll come out and help you, and you know, and help you get from step to step. But you've got something for your client base right now, and your client base will grow. I'm kind of getting off point tonight, but this is what we do in the labs, right, Kim? But
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we need to probably talk about that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this opportunity.
Yeah, get you going. Well, let's get back to the book for a second. So, who can describe briefly what the 3 main secrets of the entire class are dealing with? What are the 3 main shadow banker secrets that Ben writes about? Pop quiz.
Risk mitigation, or
risk adjusted performance. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Power of the pen, is that another?
Well, the power of the pen would probably be under create a fund that allows you to participate in your own investment portfolio. Yep. So I'll give you say the power of the pen. That's secret number 2.
And then taking care of your downside, and the upside will take care of itself.
That's part of secret number 1. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's risk management. What's the third one? It would be navigating the regulations.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Dealing with regulations and following the rules so you don't get yourself into trouble. But those are the 3 secrets. So risk management, managing the downside, as CJ said, risk management. He says, measure risk-adjusted performance to manage your investment portfolio to better performance than what is otherwise available. Okay. So in other words, we put the best products together out there on the market for our clients. Okay. And Adagio is engineering those for us. They know what clients want. They know what the pain points are. And they have the integrity to say, hey, we can put these together so that people can win. And we can democratize this so everybody can win. So that's big. And then number 2, create a fund that allows others to participate in your investment portfolio. Its performance in ways that meet their individual investment goals. So there's your power of the pen, right? Then number 3, legal issues in your fund without fear of the regulators, so you can profit from hundreds of millions of dollars in your portfolio. Okay, so navigating the rules and the regulations. Okay, so those are the 3 secrets. And as I introduce this tonight, this is about putting it all together. Okay, and we're going to probably go through a number of training sessions on this before we kind of go back to the beginning and fill in all the interstitial spaces of the course. But it's interesting because his next thought, after putting it all together, after stating the 3 secrets, he says, if you're not a financial advisor and you don't have a quality asset management business of your own, meaning you don't have clients, you're not a financial advisor, then the investment club is the way to compliantly aggregate money into a fund. Okay, so that really, you know, we've talked about this back and forth quite a bit, and I'm going to state it over and over again until we all really hone in on this. because he's given us secrets, but he does it in such a way that's rather subtle. And you got to realize, wait a minute, he's banging me upside the head with a 4x4 or a baseball bat, telling me what I ought to do. And what we ought to be doing is setting up investment clubs. And so,
yeah, I notice how he does that, like not overtly, but like throughout the book, it's like covertly, hey, you may want to do this. You may want to do this. I felt that. Yeah.
It's a suggestion that basically is a baseball bat until you finally realize, hey, he's hit me upside the head with this enough times. I think I better get it.
Yeah. Very underutilized structure. Yeah.
It's an underutilized structure, and it's the key for basically anybody in this group. If you're listening to my voice, if you're not FINRA 65 licensed, you're probably going to need to do a 506, section 506A, which is an investment club. Now, I'm not going to go into details on how to set that up and run it tonight, because we've done that in other recordings, and we'll probably do it yet again. And of course, we talk about it in detail in our labs, because that's where a lot of people have the most questions. But, you know, no matter what you're thinking of doing, real estate, private equity, hedge funds, debt, you know, any subgenre within those categories, you know, multifamily, you name it, that is your hypothesis. Your legal structure probably ought to be a Reg D 506 Section A investment club.
Isn't it 501A, Mark?
506.
Okay, thought it was 501.
Now you got me second guessing myself. I'll have to go back and check.
I always mix that up. So
the 506B and C, I believe, are just after the investment club, but I'll have to go check.
Yeah, I think so. 506C is like,
be right back,
accredited investors. 506B is like friends and family money, and then 506A, I think that's the investment club, correct?
That's my understanding. Yeah, it's 506A. Yeah. So anyway, I think you know, from here on out, I'm going to be less subtle and just basically tell people, you know, unless you're FINRA licensed with a Series 65, you're probably going to be doing a 506A or 501A if I've got that wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, man.
501. Okay, yeah. James Lovato is clarifying 501 is for tax exemption. So yeah, it's a 506A. I'm now confident it's a 506 because that comes under Reg D.
Yay!
Thanks, James. Okay. So, you know, here's something that Ben talks about. Now, at this point on page 141, he takes a break and he goes back to the comparative analysis between his ABL back in the day versus the S&P 500 versus the typical REIT. I think it was called the MSCI US REIT. And he compares performance. And we did a big in-depth analysis on that back when we were finalizing our discussion about risk performance measures and the financial variables of alpha, beta, omega, sigma, Sharpe ratio, Modigliani curves, all those kinds of things. And so I'm not going to go through that again tonight, but just so you know, that is the quantitative financial methods that are used to make sure that we have risk-adjusted performances that outperform anybody else. He brings it back to our attention at this point to just quickly compare how, when you look at Adagio from 2007 through 2015, and by the way, no, I didn't do it with this one. I did it with a different thing. But anyway, I did some back testing of my own not too long ago. But in this case, this was Adagio compared to the S&P 500. And just so you know, on average, the Adagio was averaging 29% a year. Those are hedge fund rates, guys. 29% a year versus the S&P at 6.4% a year. Now, that's just the averages. Like I said, there's a lot of mathematical massaging that goes on. But if you're starting at a 29% versus a 6.4%, Adagio had an incredible advantage over the S&P 500. when it came to competing with some of the indices that were out there. So, and the point that he makes is basically you're not going to achieve the Adagio kind of results by following the herd of financial advisors. Because where is the herd of financial advisors going? They're following the S&P 500 index, or they're comparing themselves to it, and they're either beating it by a few points or not beating it, okay? But it's nothing like 29% versus 6. And so you're not gonna follow the herd and somehow stand out. You're not gonna do it by doing the friends and family kind of thing either. And so that's why he says you've got to be working with somebody like Adagio in order to get your returns up for your clients. Here's another analysis that he does that I felt particularly inspired by. So I'm gonna rattle off a bunch of numbers, and just feel free to jump in and tell me what you're thinking as I'm doing this. But right now, he says, right now in the market, there's over $20 trillion worth of investment dollars that are starved for genuinely low risk, real yield, fixed income. Imagine that, $20 trillion that are starved for what we have to offer. Okay, so Anthony, you and your annuity buddies, listen to this because this is really going to motivate them. Okay, now imagine what, if you could capture 1% of that 20 trillion with the best annuity product ever invented, or annuity type product ever invented. What if you could capture 1% of that market? You'd be getting $200 billion of that market with 1%. And if you could get it, let's say you, instead of 1%, let's say you captured 1/10 of that, 10 basis points. Okay, that's still $20 billion. You think you could put a fund around that? Okay. What if it was 1 basis point? That's 1/100th. It's still $2 billion. I mean, see how these numbers are phenomenal? Anthony says, I'm in, 20 billion is good enough. Okay. Even if you were to get 1/100th of a basis point of that market, you're still talking $20 million in a fund. Did you make that work?
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start. So anyway, those are some things that kind of put it in perspective in terms of what's out there. A lot of people, when they start talking, and they're talking to dumb money, quite frankly, and you got to sift through some dumb money to find the smart money. But basically, when you realize that 1/100th of a basis point still gets you a fund that is nothing to sneeze at when you're trying to put together something, even what Anthony's putting together. Very basic, very simple. And so here's the question. Here's the question I want some answers for. I want you guys to kind of dream with me a little bit. If you could accomplish something like that, how would that kind of growth affect your self-image, or the image that you feel that others would have of you?
It would increase it for sure. I feel if you are able to offer that, right, which we are, you're in a field by yourself that's not really crowded with other people trying to get into the competition. It's something that sets your firm apart from the others.
Differentiation.
It is definitely, it differentiates you. It helps you brand. It helps you, and not only that, but knowing that you're putting together, whether you've designed the product with Adagio or whether you're just simply promoting a product that Adagio has developed, but knowing that you've got a product that beats the socks off of anything else out there, and not only just beats the socks off of anything else out there, but it does so in a way that provides a true service, a true value to your clients. You know, I imagine that there are people out there, for example, that are moving money into 401ks, that are doing the general money mutual fund type investment, you know, getting a great 10% mutual fund return, right? And yet they know on the inside that they're getting paid commissions. They know on the inside they're taking whopping fees. They know that they could be getting a much better return, and yet they're not, because fill in the blank. Okay. And so they know they got a crappy product, and yet, you know, they're selling them all day long with a straight face, knowing that they don't have anything that is of real benefit, value, and service to people. And so now all of a sudden you come along that, you know, has the safety, it's much safer, much lower fees, much higher return, you know, all these pain points that people have. And then when you do, you know, some things like with it that like Toby's talking about, putting them in trusts and things like that, or create a tax deferred structure around it that, again, knocks the socks off of an IRA or a 401k, you got to feel really good about yourself at night. You know, you got to feel really good about yourself. And so that's what we're talking about. Okay. So over here on page 142, Ben makes the conclusionary statement. He said, I've given you everything you need. All right. And so, and he says, I've given you the opportunity of a lifetime to bring merit to the finance industry, to bring merit to the finance industry. And so these are things that, what's that, Toby?
Which is badly needed.
Which is badly needed. That's what I was just talking about, right? Badly needed. And so, you know, he goes on to say, depending on your current level of expertise, you probably want additional help to master and implement the skills and information we've just covered. And the answer, of course, is yes. I have gotten so much out of this group, and I know you guys will too as we move forward into the future, because this helps us clarify some of the things that Ben says that we don't quite understand the first time or second time or third time around. Like I said, as a quant, he talks a language of his own. And so what we're trying to do is bring it to a language that, you know, Beach can understand. And I figure if I can articulate it, then maybe other people can understand it too. But anyway, this is the beauty of this. We know we have everything we need. And now it's just a matter of coming together and putting it together and putting it into practice. You know, and this is where we came up with the fund launch formula. Actually, we didn't come up with it. We liberally borrowed it from another guy. But it's a good formula for people who are like going, what do I do next? You know, what's the first step? You know, we've got a brother from Quebec that has just joined our community, and he's going, what do I do next? And he's talking about all this legal stuff. And I said, leave the legal stuff alone. Don't go yet. Don't go there. Focus on your irresistible offer. What's your hypothesis? What is it you want to offer? You know, do you want to offer, you know, something with the safety of an annuity with an inflation busting return? Great. You know, do you want to do a hedge fund? Do you want to do real estate? You want to, you know, do you want to play? Where do you want to play? You know, and who's your avatar? And, you know, and speaking of avatars real quick, 9 times out of 10, you know, people will say, well, my avatar is everybody in the world. I can help everybody. And while that may be true, if you want to get a foothold somewhere, you're going to have to pick a niche. And so Ben made a suggestion, and I loved the suggestion. He said, if you want to know who your avatar is or what your ideal target client is, go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror. That's who your target client is. If you can imagine somebody with a face like yours, then you know exactly what motivates them. You know exactly what their fears are. You know exactly what gets them excited, what they're passionate about, and so on and so forth. And so you have an avatar. And now you target that market first. Okay? So, you know, Kim can target all the young women that, you know, kind of fit her avatar, right? And she'll later go after the the old geezers like me, but in time. She's got to saturate her avatar first, right? And that's a really good way to go about it. My guess is a lot of Anthony's clients are a lot like him in many respects. Maybe they vary in age, maybe they vary in income, but in some very real sense, I mean, if they didn't, they wouldn't be his clients. Am I right, Anthony?
Yes, 100% correct.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing for CJ. CJ's got some amazing videos up on YouTube, and he's quite the influencer. And I imagine that, when I imagine CJ's audience watching his videos, I see CJ's faces by the thousands out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like him. And again, some of those specifics will vary, but when you're coming up with your irresistible offer, that's what you need to do. And I'm getting way behind. I actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, I've got a hard stop at the top of the hour. So I'm going to be able to go maybe 5 more minutes and we'll have to wrap this up. And I haven't gotten anywhere near through what I wanted to. So we're coming up on a break in this section. I may just finish this out and then do this in 2 weeks. Just kind of take it a little slower. Basically what he's saying is, I'm just going to quote him again. I know many of you come from very different backgrounds and have experience in different facets of various industries that participate in the financial markets. Okay. Then he says, I've developed a series of tailored solutions to meet each of your individual needs and goals. So the structured product that Ben engineered that was designed to be as safe as an annuity and yet have inflation busting returns is just such a structured product. Okay. And he designed it for people who have a lot of pain with annuities. Okay. So there are other things. If you're wanting to focus on a certain aspect of real estate, let's say you're wanting to focus on a lending fund, kind of a ABL or a hard money lending fund for certain types of real estate deals. Maybe you want to do multifamily, maybe you want to do commercial, maybe you want to do high rise, skyscraper. But he will then help you put together that lending platform in your fund so that you can then raise the money you need to go out and lend money to people who want to borrow from you. And so that's what we mean by tailoring your needs or tailoring products to your individual needs and goals. And so I've got one other thing I think I want to underscore in this particular presentation, and we've talked about it before briefly, and I hope it inspires some of you. But because Adagio can tailor a solution, you don't even have to go out and set up your own fund. You could find somebody who needs a fund and help them set up a fund while retaining a piece of ownership in that fund. And let me show you an example of what we're talking about. We have a guy that has a high net worth individuals network of donors in specific types of causes. He's got a very unique type of school. He's wanting to create an endowment for that school. He's got people behind him who are willing to help set up and fund that endowment and so forth. And so, we originally approached him with the idea of, hey, if you'll come bring your clientele, your donors to us and put your money into our fund, then, we can help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. Well, as we got to talking about it, we thought, why would he want to bring his donors to us? And we were offering to compensate him, again, to make that work. And we could certainly do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But we realized a better approach might be, hey, instead of having your donors put their money in our fund that generate money for your project, why don't we just help you set up your own fund?
Mhm.
And so we'll
equity
take
piece.
a smaller chunk of ownership, okay? And we can talk about how that's legally structured, but we'll take a smaller chunk of ownership, let you own it, we'll help you run it, and we'll take an equity stake in it, of course, as we mentioned, but it's your fund, okay? And so there are some people, maybe in this group, that would say, you know what, I resonate with that. I would rather get a small piece of 3 or 4 or 5 different funds that I don't have to deal with, you know, all of the other details with respect to running those funds. I can just do the part that I like to do and do 2 or 3 or 4 funds. And you'd end up owning something bigger by yourself that way than if you tried to set up your own fund and run it all yourself. And so that's why we're encouraging teams to come together within the community here, so that as a team, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of you or more may come together and form the fund, and you've got a piece of it, and then you go out and help somebody else set up a fund, and you help somebody else, and now you're making your bigger returns by owning a smaller chunk of a bigger project. And so keep that in mind as an alternative as well. If you don't feel qualified to, say, be a fund manager, but you got a big network of high net worth individuals that you could bring to these funds, great. Say, hey, I want to be the closer, and you guys set up and run the fund, and I'll bring you people. And then I'll take an equity stake in your fund, and then I'll go off and help somebody else do the same thing. And so those are some things that you could think about doing as well. And so I wanted to finish on that note tonight, just so that you could kind of go away tonight thinking about a lot of different things based on what Ben has said in the book about putting it all together. And yet there's other opportunities as well. And there's even more. We can talk about those on our lab night. So anyway, any other thoughts or conversations before we wrap it up tonight?
I got to go over the investment club video that you all did. I missed that one.
Yeah, I think I've got that one up. If I don't, I'll have it up probably within the next day or so. I've been putting some up.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. When was you going to get more videos up? Because I think I had watched 1 or 2 earlier today.
I was going to say, if you've watched all 4 of those videos, you've been on there for a number of hours, my friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to get to where I can put up 1 or 2 a day to get caught up, and I've got a lot more to put up, obviously. And then, you know, as we kind of wrap up the end of the book here, and I think we're going to be wrapping it up in another session or 2, then I plan on going back and starting over again, and we'll just start back over. And I invite everyone to just go through it again and participate, because you're definitely going to light bulbs are going to keep going on as you study this. And the one thing that I want to encourage people to do is don't wait until you think you've got it all figured out. Just take that first step. You know, find your hypothesis, find your irresistible deal. What is it you want to do to help the world? What difference do you want to make in the world? And say, I want to set up a fund that does this, you know. And then with that, you've got your irresistible deal, and then we'll take it to step 2. Okay, we'll walk through those things, but don't hold back. Jump in now and start thinking about what you want to do. What kind of fund do you want to set up? You know, for me, I'm going to set up an investment club that's a hedge fund. I'm trying to bring hedge funds to the masses, and so that's my deal. I know I'm working on a couple of other deals with people, and they have different objectives. And so with that, you can come up with yours, and, you know, again, also look for team players, look for team members in the community. You know, CJ, you're quite a YouTube influencer. You've got some ability to do some mass marketing. You know, maybe you find somebody, you know, like, I don't know, maybe James here is more of a fund manager. Maybe he's more of a detail-oriented guy, and he wants to check off the boxes and focus on compliance or something like that. And so the two of you could, link up and work together on something like that. So anyway, those are just some ideas that I hope you're all thinking about, that you're all meditating and pondering on, and we're quick to move to step 2, where it starts to get fun. Next week, Kim is going to be doing her pitch, and that's step 2. So we're going to get to watch her pitch, hear her pitch her deal, and we get to pretend like we're investors and give her some feedback and some comments, and also at the same time get ideas on how to structure our pitches. And I'm hoping that we're going to get to a point here pretty quick where all of you guys are now saying, hey, I want to pitch my fund, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about it, and go from there. In fact, I need to do the same thing. That's my step. I need to get my pitch together. And so you'll be hearing from me on that. Okay? So any other questions or comments before we sign off?
Yeah, Mark, I wanted to ask you a question. Does Ben have any upcoming presentations or Zoom, again, with the co-GP deck, or is he going to be doing any other future meetings in the long run?
The official answer is I don't know. I talk a lot to Ben, but I don't know that I'm in that level of his inner circle. So I don't know. I'm not aware of any changes to the co-GP program. And so if you really want to understand it, he's got the presentation out there. You can download it and watch it, and and maybe that's what we ought to do on one of these nights. Maybe we ought to take the co-GP presentation apart so everybody can understand it. I do understand it very, very well. I've been in enough conversations with him that I know that I understand it. I can explain it. In fact, I've even done some little mini pitches on the co-GP program myself. That said, technically, and I don't mean to say this to discourage you, I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth for a second. Right now, the first tranche of co-GP program is effectively closed. And all investments into co-GP need to go through Deltalk Capital. That's Jeffrey Williams, and Stephen Piscani. I don't remember his last name. Anyway, Jeffrey Williams. And so if you have any amount less than a full tranche, you'll need to go through Deltalk. And you can. They made it easy for you. If you've got somebody, a client, or you yourself are raising funds and you want to put some money into the co-GP program, you'll need to go through Deltalk to do that. And I better shut up right there. Because I don't want to be perceived as competing with Deltalk. They're good guys, and I don't want to say anything that would feel subversive to their goal. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Could I just have one last question? You spoke about I believe it was I don't know section 501 or regulation 501 A or 5. Yeah, could you make a distinction between the two? And
you're talking about the investment club?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make one simple distinction. There's several rules, but they're fairly easy to follow, but I'll just make the one key distinction. An investment club, I should say, the SEC regulations say that basically in order to legally set up and run a fund, you have to be FINRA licensed Series 65. But they make an exemption to that by saying if you are a teacher or an educator, then we don't recognize that as a fund, and therefore it's exempt as an educational institution. Now, what do they mean by teacher or educator? Somebody who's basically teaching people how to manage their money, how to invest their money for educational purposes, right? So when you look at the Adagio model, you came in through a sales funnel that offered to give you a free ebook or offered you the opportunity to buy the master class or buy the hard copy of the book, the hard copy here. And so those are educational materials. And that's what brought you in, and that's what effectively we're doing right now. This is, I think, one of the reasons why Ben supports us in holding these forums, is because it's educational focused. Because it's educational focused, we now can offer the fund incidental to the education and run it like a fund. Although we're technically educators or teachers. Does that make sense? And that's the number one rule that qualifies us for setting up these investment clubs. I think CJ is an excellent example of this because he's been teaching a lot of financial empowerment skills and things like that through the use of credit and whatnot and credit management. He's an educator, he's a teacher, he's got the YouTube channel to prove it. And so if he says, I'm going to now set up an investment club and I'm going to bring my students into this and it's incidental to all the other education that I'm creating, then, he's qualified. And he can move forward on that as another offering to his students. Now, there's some other rules that you got to follow, but I won't go into those tonight. We just don't have time. But they're simple rules. They're easy to follow. They're just a part of your setup. And so if you focus on an educational concept or product or approach first, the investment club is incidental to that, then you can set it all up and the SEC doesn't even consider it a security. You're so completely exempt, it doesn't matter. You're not controlled over accredited, non-accredited, qualified, non-qualified, it doesn't matter. You can take in anybody, which allows you to do general solicitation, which is the holy grail of fundraising. So I'm hoping that makes sense for you, Jesse. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So just keep pulling on that thread right there. Keep pulling on that. There's rules in the book. There's rules in the master class. He covers this, and we'll talk about it in more detail in the future. I just got through doing one a couple of weeks ago that I got to get put up, and I'll put a big announcement in the community so you can go watch that and go from there.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Good question. Anybody else? Anybody else have a parting question? One last joke, riddle?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thanks, man, for putting this together and continuing this every week to, help support us to, become what we want to become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Ben wants to see us all functioning as his peer, okay? I've talked about what a great mentor and a great coach he is and all that kind of stuff. He said, I don't want students. I don't want mentees. I want peers. I want people that can work directly with me at my level and we can do great things together. And so the key to that, thank you, sweetie. The key to that is to learn this material like the back of your hand. Just learn it, repeat it, learn it, keep coming back and talking about things and asking questions and whatnot. Because the whole idea is to learn this stuff like the backs of our hands and then function as peers with Ben. He's in a very, shall I say, lonely place by himself on this mountain. And he wants colleagues and peers. He wants people that are successfully setting up and running these funds so that he can work with each one of us at whatever level we want to play and be successful at it. And so there's your motivation. All righty. Okay, I'm going to let everybody go. I got to go to another meeting. So I'm going to say goodbye until next Tuesday, and we're going to look forward to hearing from Kim. Have
Thanks,
a great
man.
evening. You bet. Take
Awesome.
care.
Thank you so much. Have a good one now.
Yep,
See you,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.